Okay. I'm very pleased to welcome Mrs. Barbara Stinchcombe, who's going to give you some West dialect poems. We've known Barbara since we moved into Greenside, Lower Cumberworth. She's just across from us. And she's a remarkable lady, as you'll find out, I think, this afternoon. Only recently, she doesn't mind me saying this, she had a very severe accident and was in the infirmary for over 6 weeks and has been recovering. But her way of recovering is to use a Zimmer frame with wheels on and come up and down Greenside so often that she's making a furrow. We may have to get the council in to fill in the... Also, she was remarkable for other things. I was once with her when the doctor called, Dr. Welsh, in the bedroom, and he was talking to her, and then he glanced at a shelf and he saw a little plaque which said, "Swum a mile." And he said, "Did you swim a mile sometime?" She said, "Yes." He said, "Are you still swimming?" She was 90 then. She said, "Yes, but I only did 46 lengths." Dr. Wells said, "I couldn't do 6. But this is Barbara, and she's going to give her talk. Okay.
I know when you do these things, you should stand up. But you'll have to excuse me, I can't stand. And, I am so glad you've all come, and I hope you enjoy yourselves. Dialect poems were always in my family life. My mother, Ada, used to recite with my Auntie Nellie when I was a young child. And it was only later that I knew they were West Yorkshire dialect poems. My family would readily form a concert party with my granddad, who played the piano and the fiddle, and Auntie Nellie, who played the piano by ear. So if you asked her, say, she said, "Sing it and I'll play it." In those days, we made our own amusements without radio or television. But plenty of time for sing-songs and recitations. My mother, Ada, who used to give a dialect recitation to Derby and Joan clubs, chapel concerts, and she was often invited to recite on special occasions. Later, I'll be playing somebody else will be playing a 40-year-old cassette of my mother reciting one of her poems. This has been selected from a prolific 1-hour recording. She was also interviewed by a lady at Cumberworth Chapel. My first poem to read is Yesterday. Double shot with a tuner, but you'd hardly have thought it when you were donned up and going out. You wore a top hat of a Sunday, and collars 3.5 inch deep, 16s there were. He had a neck, frock coat, fancy waistcoat, and his breeches turned up at bottom to show his tam boits. He always kept him in a dry spot so that squeak, and then he went to chapel late so everybody'd hear him. He wasn't a bad Bothamton, but his mother had made so much on him, he were fair conceited. None at last the putsy were good enough for him, but neighbours were fair stagnated when one day he brought to him a bonny, buxom Bedfordshire lass and introduced her as his wife. You could have knocked him down with your feather, they were that tame. That lass were very good at some things. She could plait straw and make up some bonnets like winking, but she wasn't much at cooking. And as for baking, well, she'd never done it in a laugh. So for a few weeks, Breed were very sad. And so were Dandy. However, she happened to see a receipt one day on air to Matt Breed. So sun shone once more. She thought she were at the end of her troubles. She were up to shop for flare and yes. Whether she getting a bit flummoxed or what, I don't know. But instead of getting half a stone of flare and 3 penneth of yes, she got 3 penneth of flare and half a stone of yes. Wash you into it into a sponge. Sponge? No a sponge ever grew so fast. It were about up in our town. It were under table and under dresser, and it swarmed into a snook. Still it come. Lass were glad to get into bedroom steps. He had to road on it. But when it started coming up steps, just had to down and road, thinking any minute it'd be a tent next. When Dandy came home that night, some of them had actually gotten into oven and were baking it sen. Well, last were out at road. However, they waited well dark, and then they asked Dossie Rogers to cart it away, begging on him to send note to nobody. Dossie swore he'd never told a soul. No, but Worf. Worf said it had never passed her lips. No, but to Betty Busybreeches. And Betty Busybreeches said, should never told a soul. No, but Sally knew spoke. But somehow it got out, and they call him yesterday to this very day. I don't know about you lot, but when I was young, everybody had made their own bread. Yeah. And we used to, my mother had, I don't know, it was a great big thing, and it fastened onto the buffet, and then it was a handle, and we used to love to turn handle for my mother. I don't know whether it's in your lifetime or not. I know I'm quite a lot older than all you lot anyway. But we used to love that. And, well, I don't know what else I can say. I'll say another poem for you. Your kid's christening. When I was just a little lad, one thing I still remember. My mother took me into church one cold and grey December. She warned me not to make a noise, thou won't laugh or chatter. For if thou shows me up, she said, thou's bound to get such a clatter. I walked down aisle, I looked about. All faces looked like thunder. But then, if they'd have smiled and said, I do, it wouldn't have been like Sunday. You don't enjoy yourself in church. Well, not until that morning. It came as such a shock. It came back on your warning. We're going to christen your kid. He looked so meek and mild. And Vicar ups and says, will someone name this child? I heard a splash. I looked around. My father shouts, what's matter? And Vicar ups and yells out, he's dropped here first in water. He picked him up and held him out. Your kid didn't look right happy. And nor would you if your face were blue. and your icicles on your nappy. That's reason my brother's name's not John, Geraldo, a Bob Rummel, or Arthur, Bill, a Jim and Tom, but Ecky Thump is tumbled. And since that day, I've thought a lot. And I know I've learnt some lessons. And one of them, surprisingly, is always count your blessings. Because if Vicar hadn't been an Anglican, it could have been much grimmer. If that had been a Baptist church, your kid would have had to be a swimmer.
Most chapels were full to capacity. Most chapels were full to capacity.
Oh, yes. Yes, in them days, when I was younger, most chapels were full to capacity. Everybody, especially harvest and that. And we would, Ardingly, I went down to Ardingly Chapel, I don't know whether anybody knows. It's being made into a house now. And it looks lovely. Whenever I've passed, I've always thought, oh, I wish they'd invite me in to see what it's like. But nobody does anyway. But that's where I used to go. And well, I used to be in choir. You won't believe it, but I was in choir. But we had some good times in chapel. I'm just sorry for myself. I'm sorry that it's not the same thing as it used to be, because I don't think there would be as much trouble in the country if people had kept on going to chapel. That's my opinion. And so I think I better read you another poem, ain't I? I'm not right good at talking, you know. It's called Yorkshire Pudding. Here, waitress, have you got a minute? I don't like to find fault, but here, miss, taties are great and mate's all right. But what kind of pudding is this? It's what? Yorkshire pudding? Nay, come. Yorkshire pudding, you say? It's pudding, I'll grant you. It's some sort of pudding, but not Yorkshire pudding. Nay. Yorkshire pudding's a poemy batter. To make one's an art, not a trade. Now listen to me, and I'm bound to tell thee how first Yorkshire pudding were made. An angel on Fairloth Raven were flying above Ilkley Moor, when all of a sudden, poor thing, got cramp in a wing and landed at an old woman's door. The old woman said, it's an angel. Oh, I'm surprised to see thee. I've never seen an angel before, but they're welcome to a nice cup of tea. Angel said, thank you kindly, I will. So she took cups of tea, 3 or 4 Sally Lunns, and a couple of buns. Angels ain't lightly, you see. The old woman looked at the clock and said, it's due up from Millie's, my Dan. You'll have to excuse me. I've got to make a pudding for the old man. Angel said, give me your bowl, flour, egg, salt and all, and I'll make you a pudding like we do in heaven for Peter and Thomas and Paul. So the old woman got her old stuff, and she pushed back her wings and said, hush, And she'll tenderly mix that batter with spoon, like an artist with paint and a brush. I shall mix that pudding with heavenly magic. She played with that spoon on that dough, just like Liberace played piano, and Andrew Rowe twiddled his bow. And when it were done, she'll put it in the oven. She'll say to the old woman, goodbye, and she flew away, leaving first Yorkshire pudding that ever were made. And that's why it melts in your mouth like snow in sunshine, as light as a maiden's first kiss, as soft as fluff on breast of a dove, not elephant leather like this. It's real Yorkshire pudding that make Yorkshire lasses so buxom and bloody their hips. It's real Yorkshire pudding that make Yorkshire cricketers win county championships. It's real Yorkshire pudding that gives me my dream of a real paradise up above. We're on first trump. I'll kill for a lump of Yorkshire pudding. Love. And there on a cloud, far away from crowd, in a real paradise, not a duddin, I'll do now for ever and ever and ever, but gollop up real Yorkshire pudding. Well, we all like Yorkshire pudding, don't we?
Oh, yes.
If it's made right. I'll say another one. A ball cure. Now Fred were a nice fella, but he didn't think it were fair. He were nobbut middle-aged, and he was starting to lose his hair. He stroked it neat morning, patted it every day, come rest on his topping across it, and hoped it to go away. Months passed by, but it got bigger. His mate said, Rowonium were good. So he rubbed it neat morning and wept like he knew what he would. And when he went down to the local, his smiles were wasted and his winks. Go away, Fred, they told him. Clear off, Fred, that stinks. So he went and sat in a corner, and an old man bought him a sup. What's up with you, lad? That's raining. Come on, lad, tell me and cheer up. I'm losing me hair, Fred told him. Said the old man, that's no a mishap. Oh, no, a cure and it's a good one. What they need is a fresh gear clap. Is that right? Said Fred. Hi, said the old man, look at man. Black men use it in jungle. It's a winner every time. I'm off, said Fred. I'll go try it. I just see what it will do me arm. No, said the old man, but there's a snag. That's got to put it on warm. So off went Fred into the country. In a field he spied an old cow. He asked her to do him a favour, but she bellowed and let out a roar. Down on his knees in edge bottom, he spied a bull down in ditch. Well, if he found a tear clap, he wouldn't know which were which. Then a brown care cocked its tail up beside him, so he shoved his head underneath. She thought were a dog be under, so she kicked out and kicked him in teeth. Bull came and took him, fair and square. He were off up a tree like a chimp. So now when he goes down to local, he's bald, he's no teeth, and a limp.
Would you like John to just have a word about choirs and then
Right,
with selection of
yes, yes.
etc.
Yeah, Barbara's going to read a poem about the Messiah, which is sung by all the choral societies, obviously in Yorkshire. And I was just going to introduce it. I didn't come to Yorkshire, you can probably tell by my voice, until 1975, and when I worked at Bretton Hall. And I'd heard about Huddersfield Choral Society, so I wanted to audition for it. But the music staff at Bretton Hall said, "You've no chance of getting in, because you're not a Yorkshireman." And what they meant was, I don't have, because of the way Yorkshire people speak, their throats open more, so they make a stronger sound for the choir. To cut a long story short, I did get into the choir, luckily. But,
Flat vowels.
well, yeah, Brian Kay was one of our choir masters, said, the reason choirs make a special sound are the flat vowels of the Yorkshire people. You've got a poem now about the Messiah.
Selections.
I'm going to read, yes.
Yeah. Okay, Barbara.
I'm going to... Selection from Messiah. Ted Buckley was a smart chap, you know. When he were donned up a courting to go, he courted a lass, well, a little bit soft. But he wasn't much better his sen, for he went middling oft. He went 4 times a week, and sometimes more. And he always went early, but never knew when to go. Till there came a night when he were rather late. Lass didn't know whether he were lost or what. It was Sunday 'fore Christmas, to tell you day, and a heavy snow had fallen, right thick it lay. 9 o'clock come, no sign of Ted. Well, she'd hardly expect him if she were right in her head. However, she hadn't much longer to wait, when there came a rattle at garden gate. In a jiffy door opened, and he walked straight in. She looked as fair as she could, but it same old grin. Rough neat, he said, as he sat down in chair. There's been many a while, she said with a sneer. We used to be in Callan. I'd like to know, and don't go legging it all on snow. They thinks I've been to pub, supping ale, but they'll alter their mind when I tell them my tale. I've been to Cumberworth, talking to choir. They were doing a selection for Handel's Messiah. New parson was here, but he didn't talk long. You could tell he wanted to hearken to that service of song. Now, I can't tell you all items just as they went, but I'll tell you what I thought it really all meant. They sang about some sheep that had getting astray. And worst thing was, they're all going a different way. I don't know how many there were, nor how much they cost, but that don't matter. Main thing is, they were lost. Then a chap got up and sang me his sen. Whether they were his sheep or not, I really can't tell. But he sang, every mountain and hill'll be made low. I thought, the banner found them sheep, just what they've to do. Then a lass got up and sang in a right clear voice. Sang they'd no need to worry, but greatly rejoice. It were a stiff piece, I'm sure it were hard work, but she sang it as easy as though 'twere a lark. I asked the name, so I could hear her again some day. A chap said, she's leading lady, they call her Miss Clay. Then a chap the organ got up. You could tell he were cross. I wondered if they'd ta'en his sheep, for them that were lost. He sang they'd done a vain thing, they were in a rage, and organs banged in as they were on for a wage. To the singers were fair mad at him for being so clever, so they got up and sang, it'd rain forever and ever. When I heard that, I would have done as sharp as I could. I thought I'm bound to be out of here if there's bound to be a flood. When it finished telling her all about Messiah, he said, now then, I'd have satisfied Mary Sophia. And she said, it must have been grand. I'll go out and it me sent next time it comes round. I want to introduce you to a selected poem from my mother, Lady Dickinson. Recitations 40 years ago, when she was 87 years old. She and the family were Rechabites, which was a temperance movement which abstained from intoxicating drink. My Uncle Harry was a preacher and would shout from the pulpit like Ian Paisley. So, a trip to Blackpool.
A trip to Blackpool. Everybody at his house, earliest reckons to be so much, is always all just setting off, just coming back from spores. There's no ever suits me as well to see it locked trippers as just come for a day. They're home to enjoy their sins. You'll see that the swings there, train claps them down. Away they steer to have a look at water. The father comes first with youngest child in his arms, and then one or two, rather bigger, pulling at his quiet laps. Just beyond this the old lass, puffing and blowing like a steam engine, a face as red as a rising sun, and a basket on her arm, very near big enough for oyster oaker. At side on her walks out this lass, and in shoe doing a grand for old shoe nose. Look what fine ribbons she has flying down her back, and a brass ring on her finger, very near big enough for oyster oaker. Outside on her walks oldest lass. Oh, I'm wrong. I can see her, she tosses her head first to one side, and then to the other, as she defies all the year or anybody else to tell, as she's not a calico waver when she's a two-em. They get a sort of water at last. What a whoppers as one of the lads is away halfway comes rolling over. Aye, but that's a greater, says another. Then father and mother puts little uns all in a row and tells them to have a look at Sia. You may see the old lass isn't very comfortable, for she keeps peeping in her basket, and at last she says, Joa, I believe somebody's had the poet's basket. Pot apple fast is brussing, and pot with mustard in is broken all to bits. Near it, says I, that soul, it's no way for being mixed a bit. It's all to the same way home. As soon as ever out dates mentioned, children's hungry in a minute. and even lasses being paraded in a bed and couldn't fashion to stand aside of her brothers and sisters, draws a bit nearer the mother's elbow, and down the sitlock thowed in and the chickens, and don't they put it out at sea. It means no, it mustard and pickled onions, as getting on to tapple pasty, and potted meat and preserved tarts squeezed all into one. They're no nastiness. Then they have a sail, he won at boats. So in they get, and bargain with chap for a right good air. Chap pulls his watch out, and makes sure at time before the start, and away they go. And like a bird, isn't it grand, says first one and then another. But thou last chap pulls his watch out, and has capped upon the never been 15 minutes. Then thou this lass lanes over the side, and after coughing a time or two, she begins to feed fish. Then little uns come to lick the rear of the mother's knees, and she tells them, oh, you can't be bothered. Then she takes a look of her edge, and she's determined to stand it out. So he shuts his eyes and screws up his mouth, while it's hardly as big as a threepenny bit. Then out comes his watch again, and his thighs to find there's never been one over the time. Chappie boy sees how matters stand, so he brings them back as fast as he can. Out they get, and brass is paid without a word. But thou lass shacks her ear, and she says, never no more, a dear do, 6pence apiece, and all double pasties wasted.
Well, we could afford a trip to Blackpool, and that was more or less where everybody went in them days, Blackpool. And we went by train. The money we earned in weaving and working in the mills. However, things began to change as this poem, loaned to us by Stanley Shear, will explain. Blessed are the peacemakers.
ECE makers. Okay.
Yes.
By Richard Edwin Field. In the saga of the fields of Shat, one lot lived by the lowly mat. The others, seeking greater joys, invented plush for coats and boys. Some of mohair, some of nylon, some with very little pile-on. Pile for Teddy, pile for Bunny. Ultimately, a pile of money. Thus did Donald, Garth and Senny, priced from plush a pretty penny. The essence of that proverb's truth. The other fields look lush and greener. There's blast in plush, but Matt's Holina. Unless you Edwin soldiers on, with Matt's whose profits nearly gone. But if excessive hardship nag us, we'll make our peace and sell to haggis. That speech was given by Richard on the occasion of Selwyn and Marion's golden wedding celebration at the George Hotel, 31st of May, 1968, 2 weeks after FB had been sold to J. Agus.
And you can tell people that you worked at Fields factories. You can tell them that you worked at Fields
Yes,
mill.
I worked at Fields, yes. Worked till there quite a long. Well, I worked till I was nearly 18, and then war started, and we had to come here actually. It was Labour then. We had to come here. I was sent on to buses, and I absolutely hated it. But there was nothing else I could do, so I decided to write to army, and I go in army. And I had to send somebody, I had to send them somebody's name that would vouch for me. So, stupid me, I sent my next door neighbour's name. So she went straight in and told me mother. Well, my mother wept. So that was it, and I kept on going to buses. I were county buses. I had to walk home. I lived at Cumberland. And I had to walk home at night when I'd finished, maybe 11 o'clock, past. I had still to walk home from Waterloo, and I had still to go first thing in the morning. If I were going during the day, it was different. I could get, of course. But I absolutely hated it. And then this firm came from London, and they came to Edwin Fields. And so my mother went with me, and we got this job down at Edwin Fields. And I loved it. There were quite a few of us, and we had a good time going dancing and pictures, and that was a lovely time. And then I got me calling up papers. I had to go. So I ended up going in Land Army. That was it, and that's where I met my husband. So I don't know if there's anything else. If there's anybody questions anybody wants to ask, that's quite all right. I think I've done me. I think I've done me whack now. I don't. Unless you want me to read you one, this is one that I used to say when I was a child, and I think don't think I could remember it. Do you want me to say it?
Yes. Can I ask you a question? How have you managed to maintain such a remarkable memory?
I don't know.
That's fantastic.
Yes, she doesn't mind me telling you. She would be 96 in December.
Wow.
Thank you. It's only a short one. It's called A Hapeth. Where is the daddy doy? Where is the mam? What are they crying for? Poor little lamb. Drop the peepy's pet, wipe the weep face. Tears on their little cheeks seems hard to place. What do they call the lad? Tell me the name. Have they been hiding the lad? Why, it's a shame. Here, take this opening and buy some spars, rock sticks or humbugs, or something that's nice. Then run off home again, fast as I can. There, that's all right again, run like a man. He wiped up his tears with his little white brat, and he tried to say something. I couldn't tell what, but his little face brightened with pleasure all through. It's capping sometimes what a hope they can do.
It's interesting sharing dialect with Barbara, because the interesting factor is that Leeds University have now got a grant to research dialect in Yorkshire, which I think is brilliant because it's fading out. Barbara is probably one of the last people that can really recite in West Yorkshire accent.
I've seen Christine.
Yeah. So I think it's marvellous that it's going to continue, and David Collins and Richard are trying to preserve many of the connections through the Heritage Cottage. So it will be useful because it's being recorded for posterity. And I think that's brilliant. And I think you've done exceptionally well.
Thank you very much.
Can I just say on behalf of all of us, Barbara, that's been fantastic.
Oh, good.
And I can promise you that at some point this afternoon, every person in the room has been thinking, I hope I'm doing as well when I'm 95. And as the lady said, you have a very funny way of reading these poems, because I haven't seen any words in front of you at all. And it is incredible that you can remember them like that. And perhaps the nicest thing of all is that you seem to have been enjoying yourself just as much as we've been enjoying ourselves.
Yes,
So
I like
good.
reciting.
Good.
Yes, I
Good.
like reciting.
David has been recording this afternoon, and we hope it will be uploaded onto a website at some point. And if we get the chance, thank you for bringing your mother along. If we get the chance, we will also try and get on the website and preserved the poems that are on that cassette, because we mustn't lose them, must we? So let's give Barbara a really big I also think we ought to say thank you to our friends and neighbours, Beryl and John from Stinchcombe, who've helped organise this, and without them it wouldn't have happened, so well done. And I've nearly finished, because the modest proceeds from this afternoon are all going to the Friends of Scolmanthorpe Library, who are a group of volunteers who have done the most incredible job supporting much reduced paid members of staff in keeping this library going. Two of them are here. They work incredibly hard, and I don't know if they're always appreciated, but let's give them a really good hand. I'll shut up now and refreshments will be served.